Today we are making vegan Choco Tacos, the classic childhood treat which combines the architecture of a taco with the taste experience of an ice cream cone. Now, I did have some trials and tribulations on this one, so I'll be going over those so you don't repeat my mistakes. But first, let's get to the waffle taco shell. And ironically, this was the part I was the most worried about, but it was actually the easiest. And for this recipe, I'm using a waffle cone maker, and I'm simply veganizing the recipe that came with it. But for the batter, I'm swapping the heavy cream with a can of coconut cream that's been chilled in the fridge overnight. Make sure you chill it, otherwise it won't work. You can also use 1 cup of this stuff by Silk if you can find it. But either way, we're gonna whip it up with 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract until it's thickened and mousse-like. And then next we'll get 180 grams of flour, and then also 180 grams of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and then a few shakes of cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. We're going to whisk those together, and then using a strainer, sift it into the whipped coconut cream, and then soon realize this is going to take way too long, so borrow your neighbor's sifter. There we go, much better. And now it's going to seem like way too much dry to wet ingredients, but just fold it together and then eventually it'll form a stiff but wet batter. And we're going to let that rest for about 30 minutes, and then we'll get our waffle cone maker out and give that a light spritz of some cooking spray, and then we'll add in a heaping scooper of the batter. And now this was my first couple of mistakes. For one, I was using way too much batter and I was cooking them way too long, but we'll get to that later. After a few minutes, we'll scoop it out, and then I'm using my taco shaper to shape it. And these things firm up real quick, so whatever you use to shape them, make sure you have it nearby. And as you can see, these shells came out really big, much bigger than the original Choco Taco, but again, we'll have a fix for that later. And the other thing I tried that I think was a mistake, but I also think it's true to the original, was brushing some melted chocolate on the inside of the shell. And the idea behind this was to not only add some more chocolate, but to keep the shell from getting soggy. Well, there was barely enough chocolate to really add any flavor, but it also keeps the ice cream from adhering to the shell. So when you bite into it, it kind of just falls apart. So I would actually advise against doing this. It's simply more work for a worse product, which makes no sense to me at all. And now I'm using this vanilla vegan ice cream by Nanamu, and as always, use whatever you like, but I also found that letting the ice cream soften was a bad idea, as it will just melt before you can really get it in the taco. So you really want the ice cream to be relatively firm, not like rock hard, but you don't want it too soft either. Okay, so the biggest issue I had was with the chocolate, which, by the way, I recommend melting in a microwave on low power in 30-second intervals and then stirring in between. You can also do a double boiler, but I'll show you why that might not be the greatest idea either. But the first taco I did, it went great. I just dipped it in some of the melted chocolate, made sure to get it totally coated, and then I added some chopped nuts, which you do have to do quickly as the chocolate will harden up within seconds, so have a bowl of nuts nearby. But yeah, pretty much that was it. I was pretty impressed with the first one. I mean, it looks not too shabby if you ask me. But then when I dipped my second taco, the chocolate wasn't sticking as well, and it's mostly because the ice cream for the first one caused the chocolate to cool and stiffen up. On top of that, my ice cream wasn't totally frozen, so the hot chocolate also caused it to melt more. So there just wasn't enough friction really, and you can certainly try pouring the chocolate over as I'm trying to do here, and that will work a bit better, but if you're a nerd like me and care about aesthetics, this simply won't do. But the good news is I think I figured out a way around these conundrums. First, for the waffle cone taco shell, use about 30 grams of batter per shell. I found this to be the perfect amount. My first round of Choco Tacos were so big I could barely eat half before getting super full. And also, don't cook them until they are super dark brown. Go for a lighter golden brown color. They'll still be crunchy, but not so brittle that they'll fall apart on your first bite. And lastly, don't brush chocolate on the inside of the shell. It doesn't really do much, and it can actually cause the taco to fall apart easier. Now, to shape the shell, instead of using something like the taco shaper, which was too wide, I actually used this thing which came with the waffle cone maker. This is to wrap the waffle around to make the cone, but if we drape the shell over the handle, like so, it'll form a perfect taco shell. Now, it'll be really hot, so be careful, but like I said, they firm up in about 15 seconds or so. Now for the ice cream, make sure it's pretty firm and just add some a bit at a time, and then Use your hands to shape and smooth it out. Do so with care and don't crack the shell, but the heat from your hands will slightly melt the ice cream and make it easier to work with and mold it into the shell. Then just continue adding ice cream as needed and smooth it out, and there you go, a perfect ice cream filled taco shell. Throw that in the freezer to firm up. And then now we have to get to the chocolate. And at first I tried using a double boiler and keeping the chocolate on low heat, but even that didn't work. I found that the chocolate still seized up from the ice cream. So the thing that I found that works the best is to simply do smaller batches of chocolate in a smaller bowl and to just dip 1 or 2 tacos at a time. And I recommend about 1 ounce of chocolate per taco, and this might seem like a pain in the butt because you have to melt the chocolate in smaller batches, but it really only takes about 1 minute per batch in the microwave, and you won't end up ruining a bunch of chocolate. And like I said, it hardens quickly, so get your nuts nearby and make sure to sprinkle them on as quickly as possible. And if you don't do nuts, just use some sprinkles like these or whatever you like. And there you go, a pretty perfect little Choco Taco. And yes, I know I didn't do the little stripes of chocolate in the ice cream, so sue me, but you know what? I didn't even care. These were so dang good and nostalgic and just as delicious as the original. And to be honest, even though I haven't had one in 20 years, I'm going to go ahead and say that these were even better. So I hope you all do make this, and if you do, let me know how it goes. If you want to make some other sweet treats, click on this video link I got right here. I hope you're all doing great, and I'll see you next time.